Our topic of discussion for today. We have a twin topic. We're looking at the issue around the power sector. We're also looking at the issue around the federal government disbursing 75 billion naira to SMEs, talking about giving them a single digit rate now. And of course, we'll see how that will benefit from the small, medium, and micro enterprise there. Of course, the government is indeed doing this through the Bank of Industry. Of course, we try to speak to quite some of these issues as well. I have my guest in the studio to speak to all of this. My guest, Dora Tinubu Akenova. She's an entrepreneur and, of course, a politician as well. She was a candidate, a presidential candidate in the last general election in Nigeria. Good morning. Good to have you in the studio, ma'am.
Good morning, viewers. Good morning, Yusuf.
Always a pleasure having you. Let me quickly get your reaction, whether you have gotten part of your own disbursement.
No, I haven't gotten any yet. And as you are very well aware, the town hall meetings have begun, but they have started in Ogun, Bauchi, Enugu, Kaduna states. So we are waiting when it gets to our turn, and then we see whether we can have access to some funding out of the 75 billion naira. That's quite a massive initiative.
Absolutely.
It's a very welcome effort from the government, because as we know, the contribution to the GDP by this sector is immense. We're talking about 60 to 70% contribution to our GDP if it is maximized fully. And so the government is aware of this with its commitment to increase employment, to increase opportunities, to strengthen economic growth, and improve innovation. This is the right way to go, actually, because 75 billion injected to the number of MSMEs that are targeted is going to, without doubt, revamp things economically.
Indeed, you talk about the town hall meeting that is already going on in some places in Bauchi, in Ogun State, and other places. What are some of the reactions? Is there a trust that this money is going to get to the real people that deserve it?
I know that there are lots of suspicions going on, but those are not without reason, because in the past we're used to seeing politicians engaging family members and their cronies, bringing them in and giving them preferential treatment, even when effort had been made to sensitize the entire nation. And so suspicion is there based on past experience. And we'll just wait to see how it goes. When we begin to hear testimonies from people that are not close to anyone in the corridors of power, then our trust will be increased in the government effort for this initiative. Having said that, it is the responsibility now of the special assistant to the president in this area to make sure that they deploy the right partners that have grassroots connectedness, to make sure that the pipe that is channeling those resources runs straight through to the grassroots community people who can access this funding and utilize it with a sense of commitment, of passion and credibility, so that the objectives of this initiative are achieved.
Indeed, there. Well, that is a very brilliant one there, I would say. But if Nigerians are indeed suspicious, will you blame them, given the experiences we've had with the past initiative of this nature?
No, not at all. Look, for instance, the palliatives that were shared. How many Nigerians got them? If any common person got the palliatives, they had to break into the warehouse to take these out. We have development partners at the grassroots level that would come in handy, partner with the government to ensure that this distribution gets to the right kind of people. And unless that is done, and done intentionally, there is no way government is going to achieve its objectives.
Indeed, it's a very tough task, and of course we see how government is going to handle that. Hold your thoughts there. We'll go on a very quick break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation. Glad to have you back. It's still Business Daily right here on Trust Television. Of course, we're looking at a very critical issue, talking about the MSMEs, and of course, the government plan to disburse 75 billion naira there to MSMEs operating in Nigeria. And as you're aware, 94% of all businesses are actually MSMEs. Of course, if you look at the ownership, 66% are owned by women, and of course, the young people. And government is coming up with this initiative. We look to see how this can indeed support the economy. Let's see how this will be supportive to the economic growth and development. MSMEs are the backbone of every economy. What you have in terms of big corporations are very, very few, but these are the key drivers.
Oh, yes.
Do you think this initiative will in any way, if at the end of the day, the right beneficiaries indeed access the funds, how much of this do you think it will support the government drive for a $1 trillion economy?
Well, I can tell you for sure that to start with, 80% of the workforce comes from the MSMEs. 80%. That is huge for a population of 200 million people plus. It means that when each of these persons has access to income, they are going to in turn put it back into the system. And that, without doubt, creates a situation where money is giving birth to more money, and more money giving birth to more money. And we know also that this sector takes care of the agricultural sector, farming and processing and marketing. We know also that technology is part of it. There are different component service provision of all diversity. And this means that every point in time, money is being made. As long as services are being provided, economy is being boosted. And if this is pursued with the kind of vigor that Mr. President has shown all along, then no doubt we're going to end up with a good economic atmosphere. And the focus on women and young people, because we are a youthful population, and women, most women are into activities that belong to the micro, small scale enterprises, especially micro and small scale. And we know how women can multiply little things to become big things. It's important that the attention is on women and young people. So this covered more than 50% of the population. And if these are engaged, seriously speaking, in recycling resources, then there'll be a ripple effect that causes expansion in mega standards as far as Nigeria economy is concerned.
Indeed, the fear indeed really is the corruption in there as well. A lot of people feel that so many government initiatives aimed at empowering small businesses in the past never yield any positive results. A lot of people are beginning to say that this may actually go the same way.
Yeah, the concern is genuine. When it was time to give, some money and channel it through the banks, we saw what happened. Somebody will recruit maybe 20, 50 people from their immediate environment and then get a percentage of them and give them something ridiculous, especially because these things are not strictly monitored and evaluated. So many implementers get away with the corrupt act that is embedded inside. So what we can do is, like I said, make sure that development partners of integrity who operate at the grassroots level, and let me be precise, non-governmental organizations, civil society organizations exist that mean well, that have spent their own resources, raised their own funding internationally and also through service provision, and put it back into the system. So there are people who have demonstrated that they have the interest of the people at heart. Get into partnership with these associations and organizations, and let them be the conduit to the grassroots level. And there is a way to recruit them because they belong to networks and coalitions. And these coalitions that meanwhile have shown themselves all the time things are happening. You know, we see them on TV, we see them marching in the streets and so on. Let's get them involved to make sure that this money goes down. Don't give it to a politician who wants to contest election in 2027 because all they will do is to siphon the resources, put it somewhere, wait for the campaigns, you know, so that they can now oppress people with the money and win the elections. So we should get into partnerships that will deliver on the objectives of this project.
Another issue of concern is the business environment. Things are indeed very tough now. And of course, talking about many of SMEs that are operating in Nigeria, over 50% of them have closed shops in the last 1.5 years.
I know.
Because of the operating costs of the environment. How much of impact do you think this money will make on us, given the fact that we don't really have a structured business environment?
Yeah, so that is an issue. So how are they going to deliver? If the NEPA grid is collapsing every other day, for goodness sake, most of the time in the day, there is no electricity to carry out activities. When it comes at midnight, am I going to go and clip my hair at midnight or paint my nails at midnight? No, we need electricity 24/7. And that will be critical to the success of this project. What else do we need? Access to markets. The people who are providing service, who are selling, need access. We who are patronizing and buying need access. But when the roads are overworked, overpopulated, and dilapidated, it makes it difficult for people to access markets, especially with perishable goods. When the fuel price to move these products to market continues to rise, with no proper explanation to Nigerians, it makes the commodities very expensive and out of reach. I've seen people who are no longer bringing, you know, vegetables from the gardens in Plateau to sell in markets every Wednesday or every Thursday because they get bad on the way. Or they come and sit in the shop and the cabbage has lost its color and the broccoli is miserable. You know that if you eat it, you are only eating roughage. Nobody wants to go there. And so we must do everything necessary to make sure that the structures are supportive, that the system is in place to accommodate the 75 billion that we are bringing into this project. Otherwise, it's going to be a massive failure.
Indeed, a very serious concern that you raised there, and of course, I hope that government is indeed listening to you. Just in 30 seconds now, let's narrow it down to your state, where you come from. Your former governor is focusing on agriculture. How much more of impact has that effort has on the cost of food in Nigeria or in Niger State?
Well, to start with, the insecurity that is happening, especially in the area where farming is intensive, has kind of dealt a blow to the initiative, because we know how much product used to come into the township. And these days, you stay at the outskirts, you are expecting to see people coming with, you know, sacks of okra and tomato and pepper, and you are just not seeing them in those large numbers. And so that has been an issue of its own. Secondly, being a member of the Farmers Association in Niger State, there were serious issues concerning how the project was going to work. I think that there was plenty of assumption on the part of the farmers, and there wasn't a clear understanding on how the project was going to interface with people who are farming. And so when we talk about taking land from people, entering a contract for 50 years over that land, I'm like, I'm not going to be alive by the time this contract ends. And when you have taken the loan, with the interest, and then you are again sharing from the product that is on top with the farmer. Then the farmer is like, no, this is a rip-off. I'm not part of it. So these things need review.
All right. I must thank you for your contribution on Business Daily today. Dorothy Noah Kenova, an entrepreneur, a politician, and of course a candidate in the last, a presidential candidate in the last general election. I must thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Yusuf.
All right.